The distress beacon had been transmitting for 72 hours when the Valiant Dawn finally limped into orbit around the barren moon. Commander Zelthar of the Galactic Coalition Fleet stood on the bridge, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking with agitation as he surveyed the damage reports scrolling across the holographic display. All cargo bays compromised, his tactical officer reported, mandibles twitching nervously. The ion storm destroyed our food synthesis units. Rations for 300 crew members gone. A collective silence fell over the bridge. They were stranded on an uninhabited moon in uncharted space, at least 2 weeks from the nearest supply depot. Even on emergency power, they wouldn't make it. Zelthar's compound eyes shifted toward the human section of his crew. Lieutenant Ava Chen stood at her station, arms crossed, while Ensign James Rodriguez leaned against a console, both wearing expressions that seemed oddly unconcerned. Humans, Zelthar addressed them, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. You understand the severity of our situation? Ava exchanged a glance with James, and something passed between them, a look that every other species on the bridge found unsettling. It was the expression apex predators wore when they spotted prey. Commander, Ava said, stepping forward, permission to take a small team to the moon's surface? For what purpose? Our scanners show no edible vegetation, no animal life. With respect, sir, James interrupted, a grin spreading across his face. Your scanners are looking for the wrong things. Me and Ava, we grew up different. She's from the Appalachian region of Earth. I'm from the Amazon basin. Before we joined the fleet, he paused, his smile widening. We knew how to eat. 6 hours later, Zelthar stood at the observation deck, watching in bewilderment as a strange scene unfolded on the moon's rocky surface. The humans, Ava, James, and a dozen others, were moving with purpose across the terrain. They were building something. Are those traps? The tactical officer asked, zooming in on the structures. Indeed they were. Crude but effective contraptions made from salvaged ship materials, spring-loaded snares, deadfalls, pit traps covered with loose rocks. James was demonstrating proper knot tying to a fascinated Vrelnian engineer, while Ava directed 2 Korthan crew members in setting up what appeared to be fishing lines near a subsurface ice deposit. They'd melted into a small pool. There's nothing to catch, Zelthar muttered. The scanners detected 17 life forms in the past hour, his science officer interrupted, confusion evident in her tone. Small, underground. Our systems classified them as non-nutritive silicon-based organisms. Silicon-based? Zelthar's antennae perked up. Those are indigestible to all known species. To all known species, the science officer agreed. But the humans are still hunting them. By the second day, the human operation had expanded dramatically. Ava had organized hunting parties that returned with creatures the Coalition's xenobiologists had never considered as food sources. Burrowing hexapods with crystalline shells, gelatinous filter feeders from underground caverns, even a type of photosynthetic moss that grew in the moon's ice cracks. James had set up what he called a kitchen, using portable heaters and salvaged containers. The smell that emanated from his cooking area was, Zelthar had to admit, surprisingly appealing, despite his initial horror at watching the human gut and clean his catches with a makeshift knife. Commander, Ava approached him on the 3rd day. We're ready for dinner service. Dinner. Service? We've got enough for everyone, sir. All 300 crew members. James has been cooking for 2 days straight. Zelthar followed her to the cargo bay, which had been transformed into a makeshift dining hall. Long tables made from storage crates were arranged in rows, and at the center, in a massive repurposed fuel drum, bubbled a stew that defied all logic. James stood over it, stirring with a metal rod, his face flushed from the heat. Come on, Commander. First bowl's for you. It's tradition. What is in this? Zelthar asked, his translator struggling to convey his mixture of fascination and horror. Little bit of everything, James said cheerfully, ladling the thick aromatic liquid into a bowl. Those hexapods taste like lobster once you crack the shells. The gelatinous things break down into something like mushrooms when you cook them long enough. That silicon-based critter everyone said was inedible. Turns out if you roast it first, the organic compounds inside are perfectly fine. Added some of that moss for greens, found some mineral deposits that work like salt. Humans on Earth, Ava added, settling down with her own bowl. Spent 200,000 years figuring out what's edible and what's not. We ate things that would kill other species, learned to process toxins, cook out the bad stuff, ferment and preserve. Our ancestors looked at a poisonous plant and thought, how do I make this safe? Not guess I'll starve. Zelthar took a hesitant sip. The flavor exploded across his sensory palate, rich, complex, satisfying in a way that synthesized rations never achieved. Around him, crew members of a dozen different species were lining up, drawn by the aroma. The Vrelnian engineer who'd helped set traps sat down with enthusiasm. The humans taught me to fish. I caught 3 of those filter feeders myself. A Corthan officer nodded agreement. Ensign Rodriguez showed me how to identify edible moss. I never knew survival could be so engaging. As the cargo bay filled with the sounds of eating and conversation, Zelthar watched the humans move among the crew, sharing stories, teaching techniques, laughing. They'd taken a crisis that would have meant slow starvation for any other species and turned it into a feast. A celebration. Even. You know, James said, sitting down beside the commander with his own bowl. My grandmother used to say, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for life. But the real human way? He gestured to the crowded bay. Teach everyone to fish, then cook a big meal and share it with everybody. Ava raised her bowl in a toast. To making do with what you've got. To humans, Zelthar found himself saying, raising his bowl as well, who look at an uninhabitable moon and see a restaurant. The crew erupted in cheers, clicks, whistles, chirps, and human laughter blending together. The Valiant Dawn might be stranded, but its crew wouldn't starve. The humans had made sure of that. And somewhere in the galaxy, another species would learn what the Coalition was beginning to understand. Never bet against human ingenuity, especially when food is involved.